Good morning and welcome to Travels with Monkey Boy. Today we are finishing up our tour of Scotland, April 3rd and April 4th of 1999. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and poked everyone else awake. I said that because of my expert planning, today was mostly free. Sure, the drive from Lochinver to Edinburgh was about 5 hours, but since we were now up so early, we could turn the day into a more scenic trip and drive down the west coast to Ullapool pool and then all the way across the middle of the island to Dundee on the east coast, and then drive down through Perth and its ancient city center on the way back to Edinburgh. Sure, it would turn the day into another 10 to 12 hours in the car, but at that point, I found Jilreen on top of me on the bed. Her knees were on my solar plexus with her hands around my throat, and she was lifting my head up by the throat and banging it against the headboard while shouting, "I've got a good idea. Why don't we just go straight to Edinburgh and spend the rest of the day relaxing?" Put this way, I could suddenly see the logic of the plan. In fact, I said if we left right away, we could be Edinburgh by the time the malls opened, and we could all go shopping. And suddenly, unencumbered by plans and knowing only a major city stood between us and home, and the 5 hour drive, of course, we headed back. Everyone slept but me. There was a heavy fog, so I didn't get much sightseeing in, but I was kept company by BBC Radio. Actually, BBC Radio is exactly like NPR. In fact, it was so close in format and content that half the time I was waiting for All Things Considered to come on. The problem with that was the only station we had to listen to. In all Scotland, I think they had maybe three channels on the whole dial, but in this part of Scotland, you could only get one. The mighty stags that I had been so excited to see and felt so lucky to have photographed the day before became a damn nuisance through this stretch. We saw hundreds of them as we drove, and mostly feared killing them, or them us, with the car. But soon we started the climb down the highlands towards Inverness. At Inverness, we drove on a major highway across a pretty flat plain on the east central part of the country. Since the road was good, we made it back to Edinburgh before noon. That day we went back into the town center. Jilreen went to do some more shopping and get her hair cut. And while she did that, the kids and I went to the art museum. We were back in the room by 3. And from there we ordered room service and watched a movie and just relaxed. April 4th, the next day, was one of those long days spent at airports and planes. We flew Edinburgh to Zurich and then had like a 6 hour layover in the airport. I suggested we take a cab and go exploring the city, and Jilreen suggested I shut up and sit down. Eventually, the kids and I laid down in a secluded section of the airport, and I read them 20 or 30 more pages in The Hobbit. Soon we were on the plane and home. In reflection, it's hard to say what was great about Scotland. I sometimes think it was sensory overload. There were too many castles, too many beautiful valleys and mountains and ocean carved shorelines. One can even get desensitized to beauty if that's all you see. Scotland felt that way to me. I also think we learned a valuable lesson that with proper strategy and planning, one can make a European vacation just as horrible as any other vacation. But mostly my thought on Scotland is that we had a chance to spend a lot of time together as a family, and I hope gained some insight into each other and added some shared memories. And I guess in the end, one can't do better than that. And that's the trip, guys. Let me take you real quick to the map so you can see what we did. Remember, this is the trip. We went from Edinburgh up to the Orkneys and then up to the Shetland Islands, and of course, to the northernmost spot that we could. On this day, we went from Lochinver through Inverness down to Edinburgh. And from Edinburgh in Scotland, we flew down to Zurich, It was amazing when we were in Jeddah, most of our flights went through Zurich. From Chicago to Zurich to Jeddah was our frequent pathway. And then from Zurich back home to Jeddah. Okay, that's it. Thanks for traveling along, guys. I'll have a new one up for you next week.